welcome to another episode of Down and Dirty. Today we're going to talk about the impact mental health has on Black men. But before we get started, of course you want to know who this amazing cast is. I'll let them introduce themselves.
My name is Brandon Pope, but I go by BDP Sounds. I'm a DJ and an engineer, producer, and happy to be here.
Happy to have you.
I don't know if you knew this, but I'm your favorite aspiring Black male therapist. My name is Tavis Tinsley. I'm a master's student studying pastoral care and counseling. I'm an aspiring licensed marriage and family therapist, a relationship coach, and a dating consultant.
Okay.
I'm Lawrence Delaney. I go by Kassius. I have a platform called Free Game where we focus on building mental wealth. And so, it's amazing to be here as well.
I'm happy to have you guys. Listen up. You ready to get to the combo?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. What is mental health and what does it mean to you?
Wow, I can pop it off.
Mm-hmm.
So, mental health, well, like I said, my platform is Free Game, and we focus on building mental wealth. So it goes hand in hand with mental health. You know what I mean? So for me, it is having a healthy mindset,
right?
A sound mind. No one's perfect. Everybody goes through things. Everybody has ups and downs, and it's just recognizing, where you're at on that totem pole.
Right.
And so that's really what, for me, what mental health means in the simplest form. Okay.
What about you guys?
I think for me, mental health would be having a good, healthy balance between your mental processes, your thoughts, and your emotions, and how those lead into your actions. Trying to balance out those things so you can operate in the healthiest way possible in your life.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. They basically covered it.
Right.
State of your mind, waking, going to sleep. How is your mind, and when you react to certain stuff, mental health. How's the state of your mind, basically, to me.
Okay.
I think a lot of people get caught up at that point, the beginning point of the question that you asked, what is mental health? And I think a lot of people in our community, especially Black men, we kind of shun away from it because we don't have an idea.
Right.
And anytime you're speaking about mental health, it's in a negative manner.
Yeah.
When it's really not negative, it's
how are you
natural.
feeling?
Yeah.
Yes, right.
Literally.
And so how do you guys cope with depression or traumatic things that have happened to you? And of course, feel free to share a little bit more about your background and things that, of course, have triggered these traumatic or depression in your life before.
I'm telling you.
Go ahead. Let's go. Right.
For me, a little bit about myself. I'm from a small town in Alabama called Evergreen. So I was homeless at 14, raised my sisters all the way till they graduated. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And so I battled a lot with depression, and I didn't know it was depression. Okay. So it wasn't until around my 11th grade year I was outside, what we call outside, doing things like what they say, thugging.
Okay.
But we're older.
Right.
You know what I mean? So during those times, I didn't have any guidance or anything like that, so I was just doing anything. I got kicked out of school. And in the country, in the city, I know they have things called alternative schools.
Yes, I was going to say,
in the country, it's not an alternative school. It's called, it's basically a program ran by the mental health facilities of the county. And so it serves as an alternative school, but it's ran by military people.
Yeah.
So, kicked out of school, 7 a.m., you're getting to school while everybody else's buses are riding by, running laps and things like that. And it's kind of humiliating, but they also have you sit with counselors and therapists and try to diagnose you with things, and so that was the first time I was told that I had depression, anxiety issues, and so I didn't know what those things mean. I just thought I was angry because of certain situation that was going on, but I didn't recognize the reason why.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that was the first time I was actually faced with it. So ever since then, until this day, I've been trying to figure out different ways to cope with it. But for me, an easy tactic is doing something that I like to do, no matter what it is.
Right.
Walking outside, taking a deep breath, calling someone, playing with my son, or simply just sitting there and being in the moment,
right,
and accepting of whatever it is going on and moving forward.
That's good. And so you said that you were, so how did you, once you realized, hey, I'm battling with depression, I guess what were those steps for you to, because you were taking care of your sister, so it's like you had to be in the best version of yourself, of course, to be able to take care of them.
Right. So it wasn't, I wouldn't say it was actually steps. It was just trying to make it through the day. You know what I mean? Okay. So I was told that, you have depression issues. I was told that you have anxiety. That's what you're having, an anxiety attack anytime you feel overwhelmed and you start acting in a certain way, acting outside of yourself. And then like the frontal cortex of your brain actually shuts off when you start stressing and things of that nature, where you can have, make your logical decisions and things like that. So basically I'm going throughout my time with not making logical decisions. So it wasn't a process until around now, until I started my graduate program at Clark Atlanta for clinical mental health, is just trying to understand like the steps of doing it. So without knowing, I would do things like just take off walking, or just clearing my mind, or isolating myself, not talking to anyone. Right. But now the steps that I take is, one, recognizing it, accepting whatever it is that's going on, and then again, like putting myself in a space or a position that I'm most comfortable with, that makes me happy. The biggest thing for me is just be happy. We're only here for a certain amount of time, and you can't stress and be happy at the same time. So anytime I'm stressing, I'm like, I'm not happy. Right. Let me go find something to make myself happy.
Right. I like that. What about you guys?
I'm gonna head on to my friend Kassius, man. I think I quantified it later on in life. Right. Like growing up, I come from a small town too. I'm from Westboro, Kentucky, and I've always been kind of an overachiever. So I would push myself to do all kinds of different things. Like, okay, cool, they got this position open in school. Bet they got the hardest class in college. I'm gonna take it. Like I would always put a lot of pressure on myself without understanding what true self-care was. So I reached the point of burnout really early. Right. And so my depression was like a little bit of imposter syndrome. Like, okay, I'm this intelligent human being, but I'm not really doing anything. I don't feel like I'm moving fast enough. Right. So I think later on in life, the thing that I learned to do to help myself kind of space out the depression is you have to be able to be comfortable with what depression looks like and climbing out of it looks like for you.
That's good.
Like you can't be like, okay, I'm depressed. I gotta get better every day. Self-care, healing, it isn't linear. It doesn't always progress. Sometimes you have good days. Sometimes you have bad days. So I have to accept, okay, my healing is going to look like what my healing is going to look like. Right. And bad days are going to come, and to embrace that. One of the things that I do to kind of help myself get my thoughts out, because usually it's me overthinking and putting myself down. I'll journal. And it helps me to, like spill out those ideas, those impulsive thoughts that I'm having. And I'll set a day. I'll reflect over the thoughts that I wrote in my journal. And then after that, it kind of gets, okay, cool. I was overthinking about this girl rejecting me the other day, you know what I'm saying? And it hurt my feelings and stuff like that. I'll write it down. And then I go back and I'm like, okay, cool. I can really process that, sit with that emotion, express it in a healthy way, and then release it. Because emotions really are only supposed to last like 10 seconds. Right. But because we overthink and turn thoughts in our mind, it helps to accentuate the thoughts for longer. Right. So, and a support system. Yes. You feel me? Get you some homies that you can chill with, talk with, get out, be in a non-judgmental space, and get an outside source like a therapist, a pastor, a counselor, something like that.
Right. I like that.
Well, just tagging on to it, like, as men, no matter, like, black or white, whatever race you are, you consider it, like, you're kind of, like, conditioned to be macho. Yeah. And to not cry, like, that's for girls. Like, you hear this stuff when you're young, so, like, when you grow older and you realize you're feeling feelings, you don't even know it. Right. You don't even know why you be so mad at stuff that's not going your way, why you angry, or why you, like, you don't know. You don't realize it until you get older. Yeah. And it's like, man, like, oh, I've been dealing with depression, or as I really like to say, grief. Grief. Because, like, it hit for me personally a few years ago, really, because, like, God really just kind of put everything in front of me, and I'm like, oh, like, message. Right. But I was at a gig one day, and it was about mental health, and I just spoke to one of the people. They worked at Piedmont Hospital, I think, and they told me about the grief cycle. So I was like, the grief cycle? They told me to watch this movie with Will Smith. I can't remember the name of it, but it's like his daughter was dead in the movie, and he still would see her, and he'll think that she alive, and she wasn't, though. And it's like you wouldn't know the whole time he having mental episodes throughout the movie.
Oh wow!
You know, but that opened me up to everything. So the grief cycle, I focus on the grief cycle so much when it comes to battling with these mental problems, because it's like I know there's no order to the grief cycle, but there's a beginning and an end. And the beginning is denial, and the ending is acceptance. So at the end of my little journeys, it's like, what's the difference? You know,
right.
But I mean, like the grief cycle in its entirety, though. I mean, I just always ask myself, hey, am I bargaining today? You know, like what are you doing to make yourself feel better? And I mean, especially when you're down on yourself as a man, you're gonna do a lot of stupid stuff. I mean, people, period. You do a lot of stupid stuff. I used to ask the question to friends, like, why do we get older and do stuff that's bad? Because like it's supposed to be good or something like. But when we was young, we did stuff that was not bad, that was still good for us. That was fun. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, do some stuff that you used to do as a kid. I always say that. Like, but yeah, like getting through the grief cycle. You know what I'm saying? For me, I just pay attention. Like, oh, I'm angry. Clearly, let's take a breather. Okay, I'm bargaining right now. Look at you. You about to make a wrong decision. It's like now you're depressed. You're sad. Just feel it out. Journal about it. And then go to sleep. Like,
right.
And then see how you feel the next day, and just keep rolling.
Like what he said,
I know
that the bargaining, like asking myself, am I bargaining right now?
Yeah.
I've never thought about it like that. And how you said, how you journal, that's hard for me.
Yeah.
You know, so I had to figure out what can I do, kind of like in place of just getting my feelings out, and so to myself. And one thing that I've done is, or that I do, anytime I'm feeling any pressure, anything like that, I go to the bathroom, close the door, and I look at myself in the mirror. Literally, look myself in the eyes, and I be completely honest with myself. Yeah. No matter if it's good, bad, whatever the situation is, you know, bro, you shouldn't have did that. That's why you feeling this way, you know what I mean? Or I feel horrible. You know, the reason I feel horrible is because I did this and the outcome was this. Like, really being honest with myself and telling myself, you know, talking to myself and looking myself in the eye, because I feel like no one knows you better than yourself. Right. And if you go to a therapist, the first thing they're going to ask you is about yourself. You know, you are the expert on you. Right. So I essentially can fix myself because no one knows truly what the issue is, but besides myself. You know what I mean?
And I like that you guys are talking about just taking accountability, but being in tune with yourself, you know, realizing, you know what, I'm having a bad day, or I'm having a good, I feel like that's growth, because a lot of times we'll go months, weeks, and we're thinking everything's, and it's like, you know what, you had a bad year, you know, and you didn't realize that, you know, let's just be honest, like sometimes you have bad years and you don't realize it because you're just going through the motions. And so currently right now on your journey, are you guys in tune with yourself, or it sounds like you are like pretty in tune with, you know, who you are, what's going on, you know, being aware. Yeah. What you say? Go ahead.
I can definitely say I'm a little bit more in tune with myself than I was a couple of years back.
Okay.
I've been a people pleaser, and like, you know how they got like fight, flight, freeze, and fawn.
Yeah.
Fawn is like instant submission.
Right.
That was me. And so when I would get around people, or there would be a big group of people and they would have something about them that was the majority. Let's say they all play basketball. I would call it being adaptable, but it was really me being a chameleon.
Right.
So it's just like, all right, cool, y'all play basketball, I can speak y'all lingo. Y'all from New York, bet I got me a puffer.
Right.
In the car.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? This, that, and the third. But now it's like I really had to look into, okay, what do I enjoy? What are my boundaries? What do I believe? What grounds me? What do I see as higher? Instead of looking around me and then taking that external stimuli and, okay, I can do what y'all like. I think I had to take some time to myself. Right. And really like explore me, you know, take me on dates, you know what I mean? Go for walks.
I like that. Okay, black kids taking dates.
So you know,
right.
Sit down, pay for your little meal, and just eat that them cold mashed potato, right? And have you a good time. So yeah, I think that for me.
Okay. And so when was that moment where you was like, you know what, my mental health is off? You know, it's just off. Did y'all have that moment? Was it a specific moment, or okay? Tell me about
it. It was a time. It started younger. Again, like it was during that time where I became homeless. I became homeless because I was raised by my aunt. You know, my mother, she was, I actually raised my mother as well. My mother ended up going to prison. And then my aunt ended up dying of cancer, you know, and her husband ended up leaving us in the house. And that's essentially the story of us becoming homeless or whatnot. But I realized I had something was wrong was because I always felt like if I couldn't do nothing without my aunt. And I remember walking down the street with one of my best friends, and I would tell her, man, I don't know what's going to happen if my aunt died. They're going to put me in a crazy house. Yeah. You know, I really said that to my friend. And then I remember after my aunt dying, that friend, I was at her house, it was my best friend. And it kind of hit me, it's like, bro, I'm not in a crazy house. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But even the thought of thinking that I would have to be in a crazy house, that wasn't
scared. Yeah,
it wasn't natural,
right?
You know, and so for me, that was like when I knew something was up, but I didn't want to conform to what these people at these schools are telling me, like, hey, you have depression problems, or you know, anger issues, you have anxiety. I'm always like, it's something y'all don't know what's going on with me, you know what I mean? But in reality, I didn't know what was going on with me,
right?
And so that was really the start of it, and then it kind of lingered on all the way through high school, and then actually getting back into high school and graduating. You know, I started reaching these accomplishments that no one thought I would reach. You know, getting to college and being a part of a fraternity, and graduating college, and then going moving away to a city, to Atlanta, and you know, just growing and building my own brand, my own personal self. Through all of that, I realized something was off. You know what I mean? Like something didn't. It was just a feeling. Like I don't feel good.
Right.
I don't know what it is. I just don't feel good. And then that was the mental health part about it. And the first time I talked to a therapist, she just like, okay, tell me how you feel.
Right.
Tell me about you. I promise y'all, I talk a lot. We had 59 minutes. I talked 58 of them.
Right.
I went in there. I was like, I don't know if you can, because I didn't believe in it.
Right.
I'm like, I don't feel like I should just tell you about me and just for you to tell me back to myself. So I'm going to tell you I know everything. Mm-hmm. I'm the expert on my life. I go in, I spill everything. At the end of the session, she says, all right, you're right. Mm. I didn't know how to take that. I'm like, you're right. She's like, no, everything you're saying is right. You're exactly right. And then the last thing I told her, I was like, well, I know you see people every day, and you know, it's people that has worse lives than me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
She said, no. You know, I talk to a lot of people, but the things that you went through at the age that you went through, it was a lot. So I haven't, you know, counseled anyone in that matter. And I just want to let you know that, again, you're right and you're okay to feel that way. When she told me that, it kind of like changed my life.
Validated your experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that was the aha moment. Okay.
You're on to something, yeah. Mm-hmm. What about you, Brandon?
I had my aha moment probably maybe 4 to 5 years ago in the midst of a failing relationship. It was more so stemming from the fact that my mother died when I was 15, so at that point in time, it was 12 years later that I'm realizing oh man, you got a mental issue from, you know, growing up without your mother pretty much. You know what I mean?
Right.
12 years later, you finally can admit this and understand it. And I mean, I just started looking back at so many choices and decisions over my life. Yes, this was stupid. You shouldn't have did that. This is probably why you was doing this. You know, just evaluating myself. And from that day forward, pretty much, I have been journaling and doing different things because I was able to acknowledge it. I mean, even if you go to an AA program, the first step in AA is acknowledgement. You got to be able to talk about yourself and say, hey, I know I got something going on. If you can't acknowledge it, you're in denial.
Right.
You're going to keep repeating the cycle.
Which is insanity. Because you're going to think something's going to change, but you're literally doing exactly the same thing.
Right. And so a lot of, you know, people shy away from therapy, right? Are you guys currently in therapy? Have you been to therapy? What are your thoughts on attending therapy?
So y'all see the shirt.
Right. The shirt, right?
I most definitely am an advocate for therapy because, of course, me wanting to be a therapist, I see the value of it. And a lot of times, I think the misconception with therapy is that you're going to go to this person and you're going to go and it's going to be like a biochemical model. Like you go to a doctor, you have a symptom, you get a diagnosis, you get treated, right?
Right.
But with a therapist, you go in and it's like, okay, like you said, tell me about you.
You're the expert.
And we say, like, one of the terms, because I'm working on being a coach, is let me get on your map. Let me help you navigate. So you tell me what the landscape looked like. And me as a therapist, as we're walking along your landscape, my job is to be like, what is that? What's that tree? What's that anger? Who's speaking? Because a lot of times when we're talking to somebody and they say something like, I'm just a failure. Like, oh my God, I'm not where I want to be. Who's telling you that?
Right.
Like, where does that come from? A lot of times it's like, you know, my parents told me that success looks like this, and I'm not there. So I had to change my idea of what success looked like.
Right.
To be able to adequately fit into what thriving looks like in my life.
Right. Because you can be thriving where you are currently right now, but because society or your family, and it's like, you know what, I'm doing a dang good job right now.
Absolutely.
I'm doing the best that I can with what I have, and then sometimes you don't, of course, acknowledge that because you're on that journey of, but I don't have this in the bank account, but I haven't reached this or I haven't accomplished this, and it's like, well, what have you accomplished so far?
Right.
So I like that. What about you, Brendan?
I'll be candid. Like the first time I ever really went to a therapist, it wasn't by mistake. It was because I was trying to like get my license to be able to drive the tow trucks and stuff. But when I went for the checkup, they was like, do you smoke? And I was like, yeah, it's not a drug test. So they was like, so I had to get like some therapy, and that's how I did AA for a while. But then I learned how to get around that. But the first time I went to therapy, it was a substance abuse prevention therapist. So it's funny, it's SAP, but he was the first guy, and I'm getting paid all the money. I sat there. First person that really said all this stems from you losing your mother. And then like that next year was the aha moment for me. You know what I'm saying? But I haven't really been to therapy since. I was thinking about BetterHelp recently, but like when the aha moment happened, I started journaling and reading a lot. And one thing that I kept like reading and found myself reading was like either self-help books and this one like I don't know how to describe it. I guess it's like it's I guess self-development, but whatever. A psychology book is you may have heard of it. It's called Advice from a Failure by Joko Dirt. I it's pretty popular. So that book just opened my mind up when it came to everything about like mental health and like the idea of therapy. Because as you said, like who knows you better than yourself. Right. And the book even says like a therapist would let you know like you could do this yourself, but it's like you might need proper guidance from a professional.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So I mean, you pick and choose how you gonna heal your own mind. But yeah, like that's the closest I've probably been in therapy. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, I would go back just to learn more about the difference between denial and acceptance. Because like I said, that's my main question. Definitely.
Is your pace? For me, I'm like you right now. I don't believe in somebody telling me about myself. Right. But I was working for the Atlanta Hawks, and I had bad energy. I was always, and it wasn't necessarily towards people, but it was like how I felt about myself, how I felt about how I was performing. And one of the executives came to me and was like, hey, read this book. It was called The Energy Bus. Very easy read. I read it. It kind of like changed my whole mentality on my thought process. Then after that is what kind of like pushed me. While I was doing free game, and that literally just came from me feeling like I was told this, I believe in this. Somebody need to hear this. Right. And so I said it. I got on Instagram, said it, and it was like free game. People picked it up. So people thought that I was in therapy because of the things that I'm saying, but it really wasn't. Just how I feel on the inside. So after reading that book and while doing free game, I was like, okay, let me just use some of these benefits that this job is giving me. I'm going to check out a therapist. Right. Went in there, and my therapist was the one, that was when the session happened, the 50-minute section. Yeah. She was the one who told me, hey, you might need to go into therapy. And the reason why I say that is therapists have to be a therapist, you have to go to therapy. Right now, like I said, I'm in school for clinical mental health and school counseling. And one of our classes right now is group counseling. We we go to group counseling as a cohort together, and we have real life group counseling sessions. So I have counseling that way. Then I have with my lady, we have relationship counseling. I like that. And then for myself, I just go to counseling for myself, so that way, me and my counselor, that's like my friend now. Right. So we have a mutual understanding, and it actually helps me. So it took a process for me to get there. Once I got there, I felt very comfortable, but it's not nothing that I feel like should be pressed or pressured on anyone, because you're not going to feel comfortable.
Right.
And if you're not,
you have to do it in your time.
Exactly.
Right. And so I hear, you always see, like, do black men, you guys said that y'all don't have a safe space or you're not able to cry. Like, I always wonder, like, do black men cry? Like, do y'all have days where you're like, okay, be honest, like, do you have days where you're like crying, like on the floor, like,
you're human.
Go ahead.
I admit it, like, yeah, I'll cry. Like, it could be like right now. If I think about something, I might shed a tear and I'll still be smiling. Because, like, I'm able to process my emotions at this point. Like, I'm sad and you go ahead and cry right quick. I could do that. But other people, other dudes, I've noticed it. Like, they're going to ridicule you. Like, they're going to make a joke about it. Like, you was crying from this or something. I'm like, you're human. What is wrong with you?
Right, exactly.
Like, and the same ones who would do stuff like that, not real themselves, So I'm like, come on, man. Like, I mean, but yeah, I'm cry. I tell everybody, cry it out. If you got something going on, cry it out. Right. Cry it out. Go cry. Go cry in the car or something. Go somewhere and go cry. For real. It's beneficial.
Yes, men cry.
Yes.
Again, we're human. Crying is a part of life. Yeah. The thing that I think kind of shunned me away from crying or showing that emotion to people, because if you see somebody crying or somebody sees you crying, they're going to be enticed with human to want to help or feel a certain type of way. Some type of empathy or sympathy. You know what I mean? Which is okay. For me, I cry all the time. Anytime I feel that pressure, I will go, sit there, cry it out, look myself in the mirror, talk to myself about it. But I think being in the black community and being this black man and being looked at, how you said earlier, as this macho guy, that crying isn't supposed to happen. Like everyone who has had anyone die, cry.
Exactly.
They might not have done it in front of you, but let it out. It's an emotion, because if you keep letting that build up, it's going to burst. You're human.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So, I cry a lot, but that's what kind of lets me know something mentally is going on. I need to address something mental, because a lot of times the crying is just coming from stress.
Yes. I'm going to say I'm a big stress crier. I'm going to stop crying in a second. Great. So what habits have you guys formed when dealing with your mental health, whether that be triggers or kind of certain habits that you formed along the journey that you realize, I have to break this habit, to better myself?
My anxiety sometimes would get really bad.
Okay.
And again, I'm an overthinker, and when it comes to situations that I would like a solution to, it's like strategize, delegate, mobilize. But for me, sometimes I get stuck in that strategize portion to where I'm spinning. And it manifests in the way that I move my body. My shoulders are hyped. I'll pace the floor. And strategies that I've developed is like, okay, I'll realize, okay, I'm pacing the floor. Which means my mind is going. And I'll look around, because life coaches, therapists, they'll tell you sometimes your room is a picture of what your mental state is like. And so like when I'm anxious, everything's everywhere. You know what I'm saying? So I'll take the time, I'll stop, like consciously stop for like 10 seconds.
Okay.
Take a deep breath. Of course, it'll regulate your nervous system. Clean my room. Put on some, Marvin Gaye songs. Get it going, Brent Fayez, whatever. Clean up your room. Right. And I'll take some time and I'll meditate, pray, and then I'll take the next best step. I think that's important, because a lot of times when we're dealing with big things, we want to get all of these things done.
Right.
But doing the thing that you can do right now and allowing the rest to be, I think that's what helps me to calm down in those anxious moments.
Right.
So
I like that.
Really being in that moment.
Yes, absolutely.
And being honest with myself, or being honest with ourselves. This is what's going on.
Yes.
This is what's, how it can be changed. And one thing that I've realized is, how you say you're a big thinker. Yes. We make, in our imagination, in our head, we heighten everything. We make everything worse than what it could be.
Yes.
It's never going to be as bad as we think it is.
Right.
And so stopping, like you said, be in that moment, show some appreciation for what I do have, calm myself by listening to good music. One of my favorite things is I will literally pack up my bike, go to Piedmont.
Oh yeah, I love my bike. Yeah, I was like, Brandon always loved the bike.
Attention on nerves. Everybody will let you know, like, hey, that boy Kassius probably at Piedmont.
Right, ride that bike. Yes,
it's like that, but just more so realizing where I'm at, in that moment in time. If it's something that's stressing me out from the past, I can't change it.
Right.
It's something that's in the future that I'm worried about. I haven't even made it there yet, so I'll tell myself all the time, like, bro, just stay in today. Be grateful for the day. You might not make it to tomorrow. And so that's kind of what like my processes or some things I've adopted. Mm-hmm. And another thing is, it's going to be hard, but kind of moving some people around. In your life.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
It's not even that. I'm not telling anyone to just cut people off that you love and this, that, or the third, but put yourself first. Mm-hmm. I was going to go on a big rant, but
great. So, what's one piece of advice you would give to someone watching this show whenever it comes to mental health? One thing they can take away.
Me personally, I really believe in journaling. Like, journaling works for me. Like, it's hard to do it consistently, but when you find your reason for doing it consistently and you start to build up that longevity behind it and you get to go back and read, it's a conversation with yourself from a different time, and only you have that perspective. Nobody else has it. It shapes your mind, like, definitely. It's the best thing I think a person can do.
I love journaling.
Mine, I really want to get a good one, man, because this topic is so passionate to me. So I would say be graceful, be gentle with you becoming a version of yourself that you've never been. So as you're going through that process, be patient with yourself. Of course, you got the American dream, you got these standards, you got beauty standards, success standards. Okay, set that off to the side. What is best for you? And go after that and be patient with that process.
I love that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's good.
Find something kind of like piggybacking off of you is happiness. Focus on what makes you happy. Ask yourself, what is it that makes me happy anytime? And if it's thoughts, if it's doing something, if it's being around a person, and do those things.
Yes.
We tend to have two understandings of happiness, at least I did. And this is going back to answering one of your questions from earlier, like what was that mark or what's changed? I'm a people pleaser. Mm-hmm. I feel that if I make someone that I truly care about happy, it's going to make me happy. Even if it's doing something I do not want to do or something that's not going to make me happy. So in the sense, on the left hand, hey, Kassius is going to do whatever he wants to do, because that's what's going to make him happy.
Right.
I do that would say go golfing or sitting there watching sports all day Saturday. That's something I want to do that's not enticed by anyone else. That's my happiness.
Right.
Whereas over here, I have to go do this for somebody that's going to essentially make them happy in hopes of making me happy. I realized I did a lot of that.
You don't want to.
That I didn't want to do.
Right.
So acknowledging, hey, is this making me happy or am I doing this to make someone else happy? And then once you acknowledge those, flip over here and do more so of the things that truly make you happy.
Yeah. So
that's the advice. Just do what makes you happy. We're only here for a certain amount of time. I'm glad to be in this space on this.
No, and everything. I said I'm gonna miss because I'm an intern at a church. Yeah. I was like, wait, but this is church though. Literally, you know what I'm saying? To be able
church need to catch up to this.
Right. There was a dude, because I got up because they had me preach a couple weeks back, and I went up and I was speaking about depression. Because when I was going through my depression, I was telling them when I would wake up in the morning, it would feel like something was doing this. Don't get up, bro. You're not getting up. Just stay there. I would wake up and want to go back to sleep. And I was just preaching, trying to incorporate a little humor.
Right.
Get the people involved. And the young man, he texted me after church. He was like, man, I needed to hear that, bro. And especially in the black church. I love the black church. It's cool. You know what I'm saying? We're very expressive. We're very in touch with our energy, our spirit, and this, that. And we like to, hey, man, this, that, and the third. But sometimes the most influenced person in the crowd is like this.
Yeah.
Facts. Not showing nothing. But he's taking it in.
Because it's hitting. And he was like, bro, I needed to hear that, bro. Because that depression, bro, burnout is no joke.
Who you telling?
You don't know you're burnt out until
you burnt out. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's like, I ain't doing nothing else.
Yes.
I have nothing else to give.
Yeah. I'm glad we have some really good conversation today. I'm glad we were able to highlight mental health and what it means, to Black men. You guys are facing this daily. I hope we helped you guys at home. Make sure you follow us on all social media platforms at Aybriel BTV, and we'll see you next week for another episode of Down and Dirty. Bye, guys.